Thanks for tuning in to part 2 of the Mermaid Swipe, whereas I am painting the mermaids into their new home. This is part of the Friday with Friends challenge or be challenged, and the challenge was to do some type of fluid pouring technique, and we were then going to do a two-parter episode where after we had done the pour, we would then put in some kind of character, animal, mythological character in this case, mermaid, with brushwork. So we're going to incorporate it into the fluid pour. And I was showing you here how I was just transferring my traced image of a mermaid onto my poured background that I had done with a blowout and with some swiping. And it is hard to see, and so I'm kind of showing you close up a bit of how you have to, sometimes it's not real easy on these acrylic backgrounds when they're dried, and you want to put in, I usually put in my underpainting, which is just kind of a basic wash of color. Here I'm putting in the face of the mermaid, and you see me taking a little bit of paint away with my finger because I wanted to leave some traces of where the eyes and lips and nose are, so I'm not getting it too opaque just yet. And then I'm just trying to fill in the body shape in a real basic way with my flesh tone colors. And I like to make flesh tone colors when I'm painting anything that's like a person or anything that has flesh tone. If you're painting a portrait or whatever, or if you're painting a figure, using just basic colors, using a red, a cadmium yellow, and I'm using the phthalo blue that I used within the painting itself in the pour, and I mix that with a little bit of white, and then you can adjust that whether you need it to be a little bit more rosy toned or a little bit more of a kind of orangey or coral taupe tone for the flesh, depending on what you're doing. Or you can add in more of the blue and make it more violet blue to give it that kind of shaded look. And in this case, we're using more blues, so the mermaids are going to have a little bit more of a blue toned and blue grade tone to them to kind of represent that they are underwater. And you see me here, I'm just putting in the base color. Initially, I'm putting in a bit of a white base and then bringing my darker, deeper kind of shading colors into the tail of the mermaid. And there you see me just kind of fleshing out her hair a little bit, getting a little bit of color into the hair. And you just kind of do it layer by layer and go back in and you put your highlights and you put your lowlights. You put your lighter tones and your darker tones. And keep going back and forth until you're getting what you want. And but yeah, keeping it simple, if you do it with those three colors that I'm talking about, it's very easy. I learned this by watching somebody else do it, and I think it's a very easy way to adjust your flesh tones on figures or portraits. And I think you see me there, I'm putting in the little top that she has, and then giving her tail a little bit more detail. And you see I'm tracing the other mermaid that's going to be in the background the same way, and you just have to kind of put pressure through the pencil to make sure it's really getting in there good, so you could really see it when you take the tape off, when you take the tracing off. Now this brush I love. It's a brush that has cut out bristles, and I really love the effect that it gives. It's a very easy way to use it for things like, in this case, the mermaid's fins, and giving it a little bit of feeling of fish scales here and there on the body of the mermaid, on her tail. It's really great for that. And you kind of load up your brush with the different colors of, in this case I have some yellowy gold tones and lighter white and green, and then I'm just kind of dragging it across in places to kind of give it a little bit of the highlights, but it also kind of at the same time gives a little bit of that kind of textured scale look to the you know, the glint of the light, where the light hits the tail and where the light hits the body of the tail for the mermaid. So just something for you to try. That kind of brush is in Michael's, and like I said, I really like it. It's really good for, you know, a multitude of things. I think when you're painting, you know, animals or things like mermaid in this case, fish, turtles, whatever. So yeah, so you might want to check that out. And I'm just going to let you listen to some tunes while I continue shading and kind of getting the details of my mermaid in there. Now, if you enjoyed this video or found it interesting or informative, please subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up and ring the bell so you'll be alerted when I upload new content. I like how this painting turned out, and I love the two mermaids together and the one off in the distance following the one that's in the foreground. And I think that's what I'm going to call it. I'm going to call it Follow Me. I think that's a good title for it. And I love seeing that other mermaid off in the distance looking at this mermaid, that's her mermaid friend, swimming in the foreground. So you don't know what you're doing. Well, I hope you've enjoyed watching this episode where I show you how I'm putting the mermaids into their new home with my blowout and my swiping. And I hope it's been somehow informative watching me fumble around with my paints and paint things. I think the mermaids turned out pretty interesting looking. I love how they kind of incorporate into this background of the coral reef and the depths of the water. And I really enjoyed doing this. This was a kind of a fun one to do, and a fun challenge to take up. And Mary Kirk of Acrylic Art by Mary Kirk will be up right after me. I'm really excited to see what she has done with her beautiful swipe that she did that was ocean themed. I'm sure it's going to be amazing, and I can't wait for that. So please check her video out. I will leave a link to her video in my description box also. And please come back and see me again real soon. I'm going to have another swipe video coming up soon where I'm swiping with a masonry trowel, and it's a really large swipe, and it produces some really big cells, so it's kind of a fun one to watch. And maybe you might even want to try what I do in it. It's kind of an interesting technique, and I'm bringing back another technique that I'm doing along with it because, you know, there's always got to be some fusion there. So be sure and stay on the lookout for that video, and I'll see you again soon.